You've probably seen it everywhere. Just manifest it, babe. Vision boards, lucky girl syndrome, that dream job, that money, that glow up. But let's just pause for a second. Can you really think your way into a better life? Or are we just giving psychological principles a spiritual makeover? And guess what? For some people, it does work. But why? That's what we're going to unpack today on today's episode. I'm Isabella, your host, and welcome back to Speaking of This. And if you're new here, this is the podcast where we take headlines just like this, we flip it over, and we take a deeper look into the reflection. We have a lot to discuss, so let's unpack the hype. No fluff, no judgment, just curiosity, a little bit of science, and a whole lot of real talk. And we've seen those headlines. We have all seen that it actually works for some people, and maybe you're one of those people. But just what is manifestation really? Let's define it. Manifestation at its core is the belief that your thoughts can shape your reality. So if you focus on something through your energy, intention, or magic, depending on who you ask, it comes to life. So you've got vision boards to TikTok's lucky girl syndrome, where we're seeing a kind of an explosion of content that says, just believe it and it'll come true. Let's unpack this trend timeline and rewind a bit. 2006 brought us The Secret. Rhonda Byrne popularized I can talk today, the law of attraction, and made millions of people believe that the universe was waiting to grant them all wishes. Now, fast forward to now, and what we see and we can find easily are influencers everywhere on every platform, filling us with 369 methods, scripting, affirmation sound baths, etc. Why now? Well, one reason is because we're anxious, we're overstimulated, and we're desperate for control in a world that often feels like chaos. And of course, we want to manifest. We want a better life. We want to have more peaceful lives. But I bet you also want to have sustainable happiness, joy, love, and wealth. Let's strip away the glitter, the hashtags, the cute little TikToks for a second, and relate this to real lives and real people. When you dig into the research, you'll find that a lot of what we call manifestation isn't just good vibes and hope. It actually lines up with how our brains and emotions work together. But, and this is important, that doesn't mean the spiritual side isn't real. If anything, understanding the psychology behind manifestation can actually make your spiritual practice stronger and more intentional. So if our brains and our emotions are aligning when we're talking about manifestation, how about we just start with 5 compelling psychological phenomena that will help us understand this thin line between our brain and emotions. One of those is self-fulfilling prophecy. You ever notice that when you expect bad things, then you're going to find bad things. You somehow just stumble upon them. But when you expect good things, you also spot opportunities. That's what we mean by the self-fulfilling prophecy at work. It's not just you attracted it, it's that your beliefs shaped your behavior, your energy, and your actions in a way that called certain experiences into your life. So in a way, the spiritual idea and the psychological explanation are two sides of the same coin. Both say what you truly believe on the inside eventually shows up on the outside. And the second phenomena would be what we call CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, CBT simply says this: what you think affects how you feel, and how you feel affects what you do. If your daily thoughts are focused on what you don't have, so your lack, your fear, and that nothing ever works for you, guess what? You're planting seeds that are going to grow into exactly that. On the flip side, when you hold beliefs like, I am open to blessings, or opportunities are always coming my way, you start creating a life that reflects these truths. Spiritually speaking, your thoughts then could be your prayers. Psychologically speaking, your thoughts are blueprints for your actions. So either way, your inner world creates your outer world. And this just reminds me of affirmations and why they actually work. And I have several episodes of affirmations that I'll link in the show notes. But let's move on to the third phenomena, visualization and the brain. Now, here's something really amazing and beautiful. I mean, it all is, but this is really amazing and beautiful. Again, I can't talk today. I'll get it together. Visualization, seeing your dreams so vividly that they feel real. It's not just a kind of out there thing. It's also a brain thing, because there have been tons of studies that show that when you imagine yourself succeeding, so you could close your eyes and you could just visualize yourself succeeding in whatever it is that you wanted to succeed in, the same parts of your brain will light up as if you were already successful. You were already doing it. Isn't that? I personally think that's absolutely amazing. Spiritually, visualization aligns your energy with your desires. Psychologically, it's training your brain and nervous system to feel safe stepping into new realities. In both cases, you're preparing yourself to receive the life that you want. Now, I'm only separating these things to help you understand some of the differences that people believe exist between spirituality and sort of science or psychological. You choose what you want. I'm just presenting information. I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't believe in. But let's just move right into number 4. Reticular activating system. Yes, RAS. Okay. The reticular activating system is this little filter in your brain that decides what's important for you to notice. So if you're focused on abundance, then your RAS will start pointing out opportunities for you. Lucky breaks, people around you that are supporting you, opportunities. But guess what? If you're focused on struggle and loss, it's going to highlight all of the struggle and loss, the setbacks, the closed doors that you keep finding. From a spiritual lens, you're matching your energy to abundance. From a brain science lens, you're literally tuning your mind to notice more abundance. Either way, you're not crazy. You're actually powerful. So yes, your thoughts, your focus, your beliefs, they absolutely shape how you are going to experience the world. So whether you call it the power of intention or cognitive conditioning or setting your spiritual frequency, the core truth is the same. What happens inside of you matters. But here's where we have to remain honest. Manifestation, when misunderstood or oversimplified, can cause real harm. And that's what's wrong with a lot of these headlines and trends on the subject. It's not always just good vibes and glow ups. Sometimes the way manifestation is talked about, especially online, misses the deeper work. And when that happens, real people get hurt. And also, real people can't seem to manifest. Now, follow me deeper and let's discover where it's going wrong. And you've probably seen it. Maybe you've even felt it. You're going through something real, grief, heartbreak, a mental health crisis, and someone just says to you, just stay positive, babe, good vibes only, manifest happiness. Now, just wait a minute before you condemn this well-meaning advice, because let me just say this. Yes, there is something in staying positive, no doubt about it. But I think the biggest problem here is acknowledgement. Acknowledging someone's pain and allowing them to process it, allowing them to feel it, that's a critical component of healing. And so while positive thinking can help, and yes, it can manifest, using it as a weapon to avoid dealing with pain, that's where you get into that toxic part. Because when people are actually hurting, they don't need to be told to vibe higher. They need to be seen, heard, and supported in their real, messy human experience. Healing isn't about skipping the hard feelings. You're not going to be able to manifest that way. It's about walking through them with support and not with shame. And if you're going through something right now that needs you to focus, accept, acknowledge, and go inward to heal, please go watch my 2 recent episodes on journaling. I promise you will find some things in there that can help you, and I'll link those in the show notes as well. Another big issue is spiritual bypassing. That's when people use spiritual ideas, because a lot of people put manifestation into the spiritual space. So they'll use manifestation, high vibrations, or divine timing to skip through inner work. Let me stop for a moment and acknowledge that this can be a touchy and very sensitive topic for some people. So I'm going to want to remain respectful, and I will, but I'm also going to need to remain honest. And before I go any deeper into this, I want to be really clear about something. I'm not here to criticize anyone's spiritual journey or their manifestation journey. I truly believe in the beauty of faith and the power of positive energy and in honoring divine timing. Spiritual practices can be incredibly healing. They've helped me too. But what I'm talking about here, it's when spirituality is used instead of facing hard truths, not alongside them. And I bring this up with full respect because if we don't talk about this gently and honestly, we risk leaving people stuck, hurting behind all the positive manifestation that they're trying so hard to make into reality, and the positivity that they're trying to hold on to so that they can do that. So this next part, it's not about judgment. It's about inviting a deeper, more authentic healing process, one that honors the process and the journey. Instead of facing trauma, grief, fear, insecurity, what happens with spiritual bypassing is slapping a shiny spiritual sticker over it and pretending it's all good. If you're still confused, no worries. I actually have an example. So let's take someone who grew up in a toxic environment. Instead of unpacking that pain, here's what will happen. The person will just say, I'm manifesting only love and light right now. Now listen, I'm not saying you can't shift into a better life, because you absolutely can. But you can't just think you're positive your way out of old wounds. Real healing honors the shadow, the messy middle, and the light. Because if you don't do that, if you skip the shadow, if you skip the messy middle, you know what's going to happen, right? You'll be out there living your best life. Everything looks shiny and perfect on the outside, and then bam, out of nowhere, something's going to hit you. Some old wound, some buried fear, some sadness you thought you out-vibed years ago. Because here's the truth. Our unconscious mind, it doesn't forget. It does not forget. It holds on to what's unresolved. And if we don't choose to work with it intentionally, it will demand your attention. It will absolutely demand your attention eventually. Sometimes it will show up in that demand in the form of anxiety. Sometimes it will show up in the form of sabotaging a good thing you got going on, maybe a relationship, a job. Sometimes it will even show up right in the middle of your paradise when everything's just absolutely perfect and you can't figure out all of the sudden why you feel so unsettled inside. Something's not right. You just don't know what it is. It's not failure. That's not bad manifestation. That's actually your soul asking you to come home to yourself, to do the work. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but where do I even start with that? I've got you. Don't worry. I actually created a shadow book journal for this exact reason, to help guide you into those deeper parts of yourself with safety and without judgment. I'll link that in the show notes if you feel called to check that out. Because honestly, doing the inner work, it doesn't dim your light. It makes it shine so much brighter. And then guess what? You can manifest. You can manifest a lot. Let's move into the next important thing when it comes to manifestation. And it's going to hit pretty hard, I think. And it's probably one of the ugliest parts of how manifestation gets twisted in these headlines if you're not careful. If we say everything good comes from good energy, because you're going to see a lot of that. And I did a lot of research on that. And that seems to be an underlying thing. Everything good comes from good energy. We have to ask, what about the bad? Did someone manifest their cancer diagnosis, their abusive relationship, their job loss during a recession? That line of thinking gets dark really fast. And it's not just wrong, it's cruel. Now, let me pause here. Let me pause because I know a lot of you. I got you. I can hear you thinking right now. So I'm going to pause, and this is important. I do believe that, and I said it earlier, because if you're thinking bad stuff, you're going to bring it to you. And I do believe that we sometimes bring in certain lessons, opportunities, and patterns into our lives through our energy, our beliefs, and our choices. I'm not bypassing that. But I want to be crystal clear. There's a difference between acknowledging our power and blaming ourselves or others for the suffering that's going on in our lives. Sometimes life is simply chaotic and it feels unfair. Sometimes terrible things happen to beautifully aligned people who didn't attract it necessarily by being negative. And here's something most people don't talk about. If you go around believing that everyone who's struggling must have manifested their suffering, then you're not just judging them, you're setting yourself up. Because deep down, you're wiring your own mind to believe that anytime something hard happens to you, then it has to be your fault. That's a heavy, heavy burden to carry. True spiritual maturity isn't about pretending bad things can't touch you, though. It's important to remember this. It's about knowing that even when they do, you're still worthy, you're still whole, you're still connected to something greater. But you also have to remember, I think this is one of the most important lessons to remember, that yes, sometimes we do bring certain lessons, opportunities, and patterns into our lives through our energy, through our beliefs, through our choices. And at the time, we may not recognize it as a lesson. We might not see the big picture, but it's important to understand that all of this matters. Manifestation isn't about controlling every outcome. It's about partnering with life, staying open-hearted, and doing the best we can with what's going on. And while we're talking about how easily manifestation teachings, i.e. life, that sometimes I like to just think of it that way, can get twisted into some sort of judgment, either against someone else or ourselves, there's another piece of this conversation that we can't ignore. It's not just about blaming individuals. Sometimes it's about overlooking the systems that people are living in. So that's another thing we need to consider. Because manifestation doesn't happen inside a bubble. It happens inside real lives with real struggles, real barriers, and real inequalities. So what I'm saying is there's a massive difference between manifesting in abundance that you already have. So you already have some sort of safety net. You have a car, a home, healthcare, enough food, versus someone who's trying to manifest when they don't have necessarily all of those things. They're working 3 jobs just to keep lights on, and sometimes they don't have enough food on the table. So it's just a very different experience. Telling someone in survival mode to just align your energy can come off as tone deaf at best and deeply harmful at worst. Because if you're fighting to survive, your nervous system is not into manifestation mode. It's in survival mode. And survival mode isn't a failure of mindset. It's just biology. It's trauma. It's the body doing what it has to do to protect itself. So the point is, when we oversimplify manifestation advice, like some of these headlines do, a lot of them do, when we act like it's just a matter of thinking happier thoughts or visualizing harder, what's happening is we're risking invalidating very real systemic challenges, very real things that people face every single day. So, what I've come to learn through my research, through these headlines, and seeing all the stuff there is out there through, I tried to see it all. Okay. I tried to look down every rabbit hole when it came to manifestation. So I think the bottom line, or one of the things, not the bottom line yet, but one of the things we need to think about is that manifestation teachings need to be grounded in compassion, reality, and accessibility. Yes, mindset is powerful. Yes, faith can move mountains, but we have to remember that mindset is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. That puzzle also includes opportunity, support systems, access to resources, and yes, sometimes just sheer random luck, because I believe in that too. A full picture of manifestation honors both personal empowerment and collective responsibility. So we don't want to shame people for struggling. So let's just remove the content out there that wants to say if you're not manifesting, it's because, well, there's a judgment passed on you. Okay, there's a lot going on. What we want to do is lift people up. We want to love them, and we want to invite them into possibility when they're ready for it. Because at the end of the day, real manifestation isn't just about manifesting for me. It's about building a world, I believe, where more people are free to dream bigger, live safer, and heal deeper. I know this has been a lot to sit with when we talk about manifestation. We've talked about how it can get twisted. We've talked about how it can unintentionally hurt people, how it can sometimes blind us to real world struggles. But I want you to hear this. That doesn't mean the power you hold inside you isn't real. It doesn't mean that you're powerless. Yes, you can manifest. It just means we need a deeper, more honest way of understanding how manifestation really works. Not bypasses, but as a partnership between your soul, your mind, your actions, and the unfolding mystery of life itself. So what's the truth? Manifestation can be incredibly powerful. And I don't know if you've seen it work, or maybe it's worked in your life. Maybe it's worked in people around you. Yes, it is incredibly powerful, but only when it aligns with action. Thinking about it doesn't change anything. Thinking will shift your focus. Focus will then shift your behavior, and then that behavior will shift your opportunity. And that is how transformation happens. I remember a time in my own life when I was absolutely desperate for change. So desperate. I was writing affirmations. I was visualizing. I was trying to manifest my heart out. Nothing was happening. Nothing seemed to shift, because deep down, I was still afraid to take real steps. I thought if I just believed harder, the fear would somehow go away. It would just go away first. What I didn't realize back then was the fear doesn't leave before you move. The courage comes as you move. And I needed to do the work. I hadn't even done the deep work. I was trying to bypass that. The magic happens in motion. But even more than that, I realized I couldn't just think my way into a new life. I had to go inward. I had to face the parts of myself that were scared, the parts of myself that felt unworthy, the parts that I had been trying to bypass with positive thinking. I had to do that inner work. There was no way out of it. I tried. I did try. I spent years trying, years of wasted time. And let me tell you, once I realized this, once I discovered this, it changed everything. Because when I finally started healing the parts of me that I didn't believe deserved better, when I finally started getting honest about the fears that were holding me back, that's when life started opening doors that I never knew existed before. Not because I forced it, not because I was perfectly aligned every second. I was trying to force it. I was definitely trying to do that, but it did not work. It happened because I was willing to show up messy, scared, vulnerable, and still keep moving to the best of my ability. So yes, write the vision, practice the belief, speak the affirmations, but also apply, try, fail, get back up, rework, and grow. You can't just think your way into change, but you absolutely can think and act your way into a transformed life. Manifestation isn't passive, okay? And I hope you understand that. It's a living, breathing conversation between you and the world around you. You don't just sit back and receive. You dance with your dreams. You show up for them, even on the days when it's hard, even on the days when it feels like, and you're going to have if you're like me, you're going to have a lot of days where it feels like no matter what you are doing, even if you're doing the work, nothing seems to be happening. And everything that could go wrong is going wrong. But remember those lessons and those opportunities that show up sometimes and they mold themselves into what looks like everything is going wrong, but they're actually opening doors for you. Every single day, something is happening. And trust me, there's something incredibly powerful about intention and manifesting your dream from a real, honest place that you've done the work. Whether it came easily, I'm thinking back. I know that I don't know why my path always seems to look so hard. It doesn't just look, it's always been incredibly hard. And I remember how much I used to envy people who just seemed to have skates on in life. But whether it came easily or took everything that you had, or will take everything that you had, whether it unfolds with grace or through grit, or a little bit of both, the real magic isn't just in what you create. It's in who you become along the way. That kind of manifestation doesn't just change your circumstances. So yes, you're going to change your reality, but you're also going to transform yourself from the inside out. And you, exactly as you are, evolving and expanding, you are the real miracle. And if no one's told you lately, you're already doing better than you think. You're already on your way. And if today's conversation resonated with you, if it sparked something in you, or even just made you breathe a little deeper, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment, leave some feedback, and let me know what's one dream you're ready to believe in again. And if you feel like you're ready to start exploring that deeper inner work, the kind that makes manifestation truly lasting and real, remember, I created my shadow book journal exactly for souls like you. And I have 2 podcast episodes that I'll also link in the show notes if you want more support on this journey. You don't have to figure it out all today. You certainly do not have to do that. But you can just take one honest step forward. And if you want more conversations like this, make sure to subscribe and follow me wherever you get your podcast. Join our community because together we're rewriting the story of what's possible. Keep dreaming, keep healing, keep becoming. The world needs your light. See you on the next episode.